Listen to me carefully, because this is not just another speech. This is a wake-up call. Right now, someone out there has pulled away from you. They've gone cold, distant, detached. They're playing that avoidant game, leaving you overthinking, questioning your worth, wondering if you're not enough. But let me tell you this, you are more than enough. And the moment you understand your own power, the moment you flip the script, is the moment they come running back, because they can't resist the energy of someone who knows exactly who they are. This isn't about manipulation. This is about transformation. It's about stepping into your true self so boldly, so unapologetically, that the avoidant who once withdrew has no choice but to chase. In just 7 words, 7 moves, and 7 days, you can completely shift the dynamic. You don't need months or years. You don't need to beg, plead, or prove your value. You just need to embody these principles, and the game changes forever. So lean in, because here's how you flip the avoidant so hard that they can't help but chase you. The very first word that flips everything is this: enough. And let me tell you, when you truly embrace it, everything changes. Most people don't realize how much of their life they spend trying to prove their worth, begging for validation, chasing approval, bending over backward just to be seen, loved, or accepted. And when you're dealing with someone avoidant, that tendency gets magnified, because the more they pull away, the more you feel this urge to prove, to chase, to show them, look, I'm good enough, I'm worth it, please see me. But the truth is, the very act of chasing strips you of your power. It signals to them, consciously or unconsciously, that you don't believe in your own worth. Now imagine what happens when you shift that. Imagine standing in the mirror and saying to yourself, with absolute conviction, I am enough. Not tomorrow, not when they finally wake up and appreciate me, not when I achieve more or look different or act differently. I am enough right now. That single shift radiates outwards. Your energy changes, your tone changes, the way you walk into a room changes. You stop clinging, you stop explaining, you stop begging. And that's when the avoidant feels the shift, because avoidants aren't attracted to weakness or desperation. They're pulled by strength, by self-assurance, by someone who knows their value without needing constant reassurance. Think about it. Every time you've chased, begged, or tried to convince them, did it ever bring them closer? No, it only pushed them further away. But the moment you stand tall in your truth, the moment you declare that you are already enough, the magnetic pull reverses. They start to notice what they're missing. They start to feel the absence of your energy. And suddenly, the avoidant who thought they could keep running without consequence feels a very real fear, the fear of losing someone who doesn't need them, but who chooses them. That distinction is everything. Enough means you stop negotiating your worth. You stop tolerating crumbs. You stop making excuses for their behavior. Enough means your boundaries become clear. It means you operate from a place of power instead of lack. And when you embody that, you don't have to say much. They feel it in your silence. They feel it when you stop over-explaining. They feel it when you step back with calm confidence instead of panic. That's when the avoidance starts to chase, because nothing is more attractive than someone who radiates certainty, strength, and self-worth. One of the most powerful moves you can ever make with an avoidant is to simply step back. And I don't mean with bitterness, with anger, or with some dramatic outburst. I mean with calm, deliberate control. Because when you step back, you are reclaiming your power. Most people make the mistake of leaning in when the avoidant pulls away. They text more, they call more, they explain themselves endlessly. They think that if they can just pour out enough love, enough reassurance, enough presence, the avoidant will finally feel safe and stay. But here's the truth: that strategy backfires every single time. The more you chase, the more they withdraw. The more you demand closeness, the more suffocated they feel. Stepping back does not mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you play games. It means you respect yourself enough to give them the space they're trying to create. And in that space, you show them something they didn't expect: that you will not collapse without them, that you are strong, whole, and capable of standing tall even when they retreat. And this is where the shift happens. Avoidants are wired to expect that others will chase them, demand from them, pressure them. When you refuse to play that role, you disrupt their entire pattern. You confuse their expectations. And in that confusion, curiosity is born. They start asking themselves, why aren't they chasing me? Why aren't they trying harder? Why does it feel like they're okay without me? That curiosity is the beginning of the chase. Stepping back is not passive, it's active strength. It's discipline. It's saying to yourself, I do not have to force what is mine. I do not have to beg for attention. I am worthy of being pursued. And when you embody that energy, the avoidant starts to feel the loss of your presence. They realize the silence is louder than any words you could speak. They realize that your absence carries more weight than your constant presence ever did. And slowly, without you lifting a finger, the dynamic begins to reverse. This move also does something even deeper. It gives you back your focus. Instead of spending every ounce of your energy analyzing their every move, you redirect that energy to yourself. You breathe again. You regain your center. You remind yourself that love is a choice, not a dependency. And as you pull your energy inward, you rise. You become magnetic, and that's when the avoidant, who once felt in control, senses the shift and begins to chase. The third word that changes everything is freedom. And let me tell you, when you start living from this word, you stop being trapped by the avoidance push and pull game. Freedom doesn't mean cutting them off or walking away without care. It means releasing yourself from the invisible chains of need, dependency, and fear. Most people who deal with avoidance end up locked in a cycle of, I can't lose them, I need them to choose me, I have to hold on. That fear keeps you small. It makes you compromise your standards. It makes you accept less than you deserve, all because you're terrified of the alternative, being alone. But freedom is the antidote to that fear. When you embrace freedom, you send a powerful message, not just to the avoidant, but to yourself. You're saying, I want you, but I don't need you to survive. I choose you, but I will not chain myself to your indecision. I love you, but I love me more. That shift shakes the avoidant to their core, because avoidants are comfortable when they feel someone is dependent on them. It reassures them that no matter how much they withdraw, the other person will always be waiting. The second you show them that you have the freedom to walk away, to create joy without them, to keep moving forward with or without their participation, they feel the ground shift beneath them. Suddenly, they realize you are not trapped in their orbit, they are at risk of being left behind. Freedom is magnetic because it signals strength. It shows that you are not clinging out of fear, but choosing from a place of abundance. It makes every interaction more powerful because you are no longer trying to control the outcome. You aren't panicking if they take longer to respond. You aren't obsessing over their mood. You aren't begging for scraps of attention. Instead, you are living fully, breathing deeply, laughing loudly, and showing with your actions that your life is bigger than their avoidance. And that's when they feel it, the shift in power. When you embody freedom, you flip the dynamic. They sense that they can no longer string you along. They realize that every time they pull away, they risk losing someone who is fully capable of thriving without them. That realization terrifies an avoidant more than anything, because deep down, they don't want to lose someone who doesn't just love them, but who doesn't depend on them. That's when the chase begins, not because you forced them to, but because your freedom has made you irresistible. One of the most powerful moves you can ever make is to invest in yourself. When you shift the focus away from chasing someone who is pulling back and instead pour that energy into your own growth, everything begins to change. Too often, people caught in the avoidance cycle make the mistake of making their entire world revolve around the avoidant. They analyze every word, every silence, every action, and they end up losing themselves in the process. But the moment you decide, I am going to invest in me, you change the dynamic instantly. Because suddenly, your life is no longer a waiting room for their approval. It becomes a stage where you rise, build, and shine. Investing in yourself means leveling up in ways that cannot be ignored. It could be improving your physical health, working on your fitness, changing your style, or taking care of your body in ways that make you feel alive. It could be advancing your career, building a business, learning a new skill, or pursuing a dream you've put on hold. It could mean deepening your emotional strength, learning self-regulation, building boundaries, and creating inner peace that no one can shake. Every step you take in your self-investment raises your value, not because you weren't valuable before, but because you are finally displaying your true worth with no apology. Here's the secret: avoidants are drawn to strength. They may not admit it. They may even run from it at first. But deep down, they are magnetized by someone who is self-sufficient, confident, and radiant. When you invest in yourself, you start carrying yourself differently. You walk taller, you speak with more certainty, you smile with genuine joy. Your energy changes. And while they may try to act unaffected, they feel it, they see it. And it unnerves them because it reminds them that your world does not orbit around them. It orbits around you. What happens next is powerful. They begin to feel the gap. They start noticing that while they've been pulling away, you've been rising higher. They expected you to collapse, to cling harder, to shrink. Instead, they see you growing stronger, more attractive, more independent. And suddenly, they fear losing you to someone who will appreciate that light. That fear pushes them closer because no avoidant wants to wake up one day and realize the person they once took for granted has become too powerful to wait around. When you invest in yourself, you are sending the clearest signal possible. I am my own priority. That's not arrogance, it's power. It's magnetic, and it's the very energy that flips the avoidant from pulling away to chasing harder than ever before. Clarity is one of the most powerful forces you can carry into any relationship, especially with an avoidant. Most people who deal with avoidance live in a fog of confusion. They constantly wonder, do they love me? Do they want me? Should I stay or should I go? That constant guessing weakens your energy. It keeps you trapped in anxiety, overthinking, and fear. But the moment you decide to embrace clarity, you instantly flip the balance of power. Because clarity means you know exactly what you want, what you deserve, and what you will no longer tolerate. And that decisiveness is magnetic. Avoidants thrive in uncertainty. They rely on the fact that you're unsure of yourself. They know that as long as you're confused, you'll settle for breadcrumbs, you'll wait for their half effort, and you'll keep holding on, hoping they'll eventually change. But clarity cuts through that fog like a sword. Clarity says, I know what I want. I know the kind of love I deserve. And if you can't meet me there, I will not settle. That type of energy is not desperate. It is not weak. It is strong, firm, and commanding. And it changes the way the avoidant sees you. When you carry clarity, you no longer get caught in endless cycles of questioning. You stop replaying every text, every pause, every silence. You stop twisting yourself into knots, trying to decode their mixed signals. Instead, you become centered. You become solid. You become someone who is no longer begging for answers, but already has them. That certainty forces the avoidant to reevaluate. Because when you are no longer dependent on their approval, when you show that you can decide for yourself whether they are worthy of you, the tables turn. Clarity is also deeply attractive because it's rare. Most people stumble through relationships unsure of who they are and what they want. But when you stand firm in your standards, you shine differently. You carry yourself with authority. You speak with conviction. You stop over-explaining. You stop justifying. And you stop compromising your values to keep someone who doesn't meet your needs. That inner strength is felt in every interaction, and it makes the avoidant realize something critical. You cannot be played with. You cannot be strung along. You are either chosen fully or you are gone. And here's the most powerful part. Clarity doesn't just scare the avoidant, it attracts them. Because deep down, even avoidants want someone who knows their worth. They crave the certainty they lack within themselves. And when you embody that clarity, they feel it. They sense that if they don't step up, someone else will. And that realization is often the trigger that makes them chase hard and fast because they don't want to lose someone who refuses to settle for anything less than real, lasting love. Energy is everything when it comes to flipping an avoidant, and the sixth move is all about shifting your energy. Too often, people caught in avoidant dynamics allow their emotions to be dictated by someone else's withdrawal. They panic when their silence, overanalyze every word, and let uncertainty drain their confidence. But here's the truth: the energy you carry speaks louder than anything you say. Avoidants are hyper-aware of energy. They sense tension, neediness, and desperation immediately. They are drawn to lightness, confidence, and calm authority. The moment you consciously shift your energy, you shift the game completely. Shifting your energy means letting go of emotional volatility. It means speaking less but with purpose. It means controlling your reactions instead of reacting impulsively to their distance or unpredictability. It's the difference between chasing and radiating attraction. When you stop feeding into the drama, when you stop giving emotional power to their avoidance, you reclaim your magnetic presence. You move through life with a calm certainty that says, without words, I am in control of my happiness, and I will not be shaken by anyone else's indecision. That energy alone makes an avoidant curious, unsettled, and ultimately drawn to you. Shifting your energy also requires a deliberate focus on how you present yourself. Carry yourself with confidence, smile often, and approach interactions with lightness and playfulness rather than anxiety or need. Avoidants are naturally pulled to people who seem untouchable in their self-assurance. When you create an aura of ease, it becomes irresistible. You stop over-explaining, over-texting, and overthinking. Instead, your energy communicates, I am here, I am strong, and I am moving forward with or without you. That is a power that no amount of words can replicate. Another critical element of energy is consistency. Avoidants notice patterns. If your energy is erratic, they feel insecure and pull further away. But when your energy is steady, grounded, and unwavering, it acts like a magnet. They begin to respect your presence and even fear losing it. This doesn't mean being cold or detached. It means being emotionally disciplined, showing up fully for yourself first, and letting them engage on your terms. The moment you do this, the energy dynamic flips. They start chasing, not because you've forced them, but because your energy has awakened their desire to reconnect, to pursue, to be part of your orbit. Shifting energy is subtle but transformative. It's the invisible language of attraction. Avoidants respond more to the vibration you give off than the words you speak. When you master this, when you carry yourself with grounded confidence, lightness, and control, the avoidant can no longer resist. Your energy makes them want to close the distance they once created, and that's when the chase begins. The seventh and final word is next, and this is the ultimate weapon in flipping an avoidant. Most people get trapped in the cycle of waiting, hoping, and holding on, convinced that their worth depends on someone else choosing them. They cling to the illusion that persistence alone will make the avoidant stay or finally realize what they have. But here's the truth. The moment you make next your mantra, you step into a level of power that cannot be ignored. Next is not about being careless or reckless. It's about making the conscious choice to prioritize yourself, to continue moving forward, and to create a life that doesn't hinge on anyone else's indecision. When you embody next, you show the avoidant that you are not a safety net to fall back on. You are not a backup plan. You are not waiting in the wings for someone who is unwilling to meet you halfway. Instead, you are fully available to the world, fully invested in your own journey, and fully committed to your growth. That realization shakes the avoidant because it flips the dynamic entirely. They are no longer in control. They no longer have the power to push and pull you at will. Instead, they see someone who will not tolerate being strung along, someone who is unafraid to walk away if their standards are not met. That is magnetic. That is irresistible. Next also liberates your energy. When you stop obsessing over what the avoidant is doing, when you stop trying to predict their next move, and when you stop tying your happiness to their attention, you free yourself, you regain focus, clarity, and confidence. You begin to channel all the energy you once spent on chasing into building a life that excites you, inspires you, and fulfills you. Avoidants sense this shift immediately. They see that you are no longer dependent, no longer anxious, and no longer fixated on them. That awareness triggers a natural chase instinct because they suddenly realize they cannot take your presence for granted anymore. This word also reinforces boundaries. It teaches the avoidant and yourself that love and attention are earned through choice, not entitlement. When you are ready to say next, at any moment, you communicate that your worth is non-negotiable. You demonstrate that your time, energy, and love are precious, and you will not waste them on someone who does not reciprocate fully. Avoidants respect this strength even if it makes them uncomfortable at first. Ultimately, next is about power, self-respect, and freedom. It is the declaration that your life will not be paused or diminished for anyone. And paradoxically, when you embody next, the avoidant, the person who once pulled away, often begins to chase with intensity. They recognize that your value is not in waiting, but in moving forward, and that realization is the catalyst that turns avoidance into pursuit. The journey of flipping an avoidant is not about manipulation, control, or forcing someone to act against their nature. It is about transformation within yourself. Over the course of these 7 words, 7 moves, and 7 days, you have learned how to reclaim your power, amplify your presence, and radiate a version of yourself that cannot be ignored. The principles of enough, stepping back, freedom, self-investment, clarity, energy, and next are not just tactics. They are a roadmap to becoming the most magnetic, self-assured, and irresistible version of yourself. When you fully embody these ideas, you no longer chase, you attract. You no longer plead, you empower. And the avoidant, who once created distance and uncertainty, now finds themselves pulled toward the force of your unwavering presence. It starts with the word enough. Understanding and internalizing your intrinsic worth is the foundation of this transformation. You no longer define yourself by someone else's attention or validation. You no longer shrink or compromise to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. The moment you declare to yourself and the world that you are enough, you break free from the chains of fear and desperation. You project confidence, calm, and certainty, qualities that avoidants are irresistibly drawn to. When they see that you are whole, unshakable, and unapologetically you, the dynamic begins to shift. You are no longer the one pursuing, they are the ones catching up. Stepping back is the physical manifestation of this power. By creating space, you allow the avoidant to confront the absence of your energy, to feel the gap your presence once filled, and to sense the weight of the attention they once took for granted. This move is not about withdrawal from love. It is about stepping into strength. It is about showing that your happiness and growth are not dependent on someone else's willingness to engage. In that space, curiosity and desire awaken. What they cannot control becomes intriguing, magnetic, and impossible to resist. Your absence becomes the silent call that pulls them back toward you. The principles of freedom and self-investment amplify this effect. When you demonstrate that your life is vibrant, full, and independent of their presence, you embody a power they cannot create for themselves. Avoidants are instinctively drawn to strength, to people who do not wait for validation or permission to live fully. Your dedication to self-growth, health goals, and happiness communicates something far more profound than words ever could. You are a prize that must be chosen intentionally. Your clarity in boundaries, purpose, and standards is magnetic because it represents a life lived with intention, not desperation. Energy and clarity are your invisible weapons. The calm, confident, grounded presence you cultivate signals that you are no longer trapped in emotional volatility. You no longer react to their withdrawal with panic or anxiety. Instead, you radiate control, lightness, and unwavering self-worth. Avoidants sense this energy instinctively. It unsettles them while simultaneously attracting them. Clarity ensures that you are not negotiating your standards or tolerating less than you deserve. Together, energy and clarity transform your interactions into a dance where you lead and the avoidant naturally follows. Finally, the word next is the ultimate declaration of power. It signifies that your life will not pause for anyone, that your love, attention, and presence are non-negotiable. You operate from a place of abundance, not scarcity, and that reality awakens desire in the avoidant like nothing else can. By living with freedom, investing in yourself, and maintaining clarity, energy, and strength, you create a magnetic force that flips avoidance into pursuit. This is not about control, it is about embodying the highest version of yourself. And when you do, the avoidant who once pulled away will chase, not because you begged them to, but because your power, presence, and authenticity have made you utterly irresistible. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here, to learn, and to grow with me. Your support means the world, and it motivates me to keep bringing you the most powerful strategies and insights to transform your life and relationships. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss the next life-changing upload. Hit the notification bell to stay updated and join our growing community of people stepping into their power every single day. Remember, your growth is your power, and every step you take toward yourself is a step that shifts the world around you. Keep implementing these strategies, stay strong, and trust the process. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, stay powerful, stay magnetic, and keep leveling up.